Welcome back to Conservative Conversations. I'm your host, Reid.
And I'm Frank.
Today we're going to be talking about Donald Trump's busy week since his inauguration. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you to follow on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you'd like to hear additional content, you can become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle. All right, we are back with our first episode since our trip to Washington, D.C. for Trump's inauguration. And if you have not checked out any of that coverage, be sure to go do that on our YouTube channel or in the past episodes uploaded to your favorite podcast platform. And I definitely had a good time while we were there. I'm sure, Frank, you did too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great experience to be able to go. But since we've gone on that trip, Donald Trump has been a very, very busy man, very busy president in his first week, getting all sorts of things done by various executive orders and actions, and even the Congress getting nominees confirmed.
Just tons.
Yes.
I mean, starting from like when he was sworn in, he just started signing executive orders right away. So he's been super busy.
Right. Some of the, excuse me, as we're recording over the weekend, Pete Hegseth was confirmed for Secretary of Defense. Kristi Noem was confirmed for Secretary of Homeland Security. Earlier last week, I always forget his name when I'm trying to think of, Marco Rubio was confirmed unanimously for Secretary of State, which was good to see.
Yep.
So and they pretty much ready to hit the ground running, from what it sounds like.
Well, that's good. Some of those people are great people, very good choices. So I think they'll do a good job in their jobs and roles, but time will tell. But also we've seen Trump traveling quite a bit. I mean, you know, he was left with a few issues in the country. Biden's FEMA had not done too good of a job down in like North Carolina, where they'd been hit by those hurricanes and had the flooding and all the issues down there. So he was in North Carolina, helping the people there. And then he went out to California, where they've been devastated by those wildfires. And I don't know if you saw any of the coverage from that, but he was out there shaking hands with Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom was quoted as saying, you know, he met him on the tarmac, and he was quoted as saying something like, "We're glad you're here. We need your help." And Trump was also pressed afterwards by certain media saying, you know, don't you find it hard to work with him, and et cetera, et cetera. And Trump just said, you know, basically that California needs a lot of help, and
Right.
he's going to do it. They need to put differences aside, and they need to work together. They're going to work together and do what's right for California. So
Right.
that's always good to see. I just hope it doesn't, I don't know, you know, make Gavin look good, that he could sort of bow down, if you will, you know, or whatever, and work with Trump. But I guess he'll have to answer for that on his side, you know,
Right.
with his people. But
No, I hadn't really seen too many clips of Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom together, but I did see him talking to the mayor, Karen Bass.
oh yeah, that's when he was out there, and
Yeah.
he sat on a panel right beside her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very funny exchange. I mean, there were some interesting, funny exchanges in that. And, you know, he was doing a good job of calling her out in real time, I thought. I mean, and I think he was also trying to be somewhat courteous. I mean, he wasn't Donald Trump sitting there calling somebody's wife a pig or something,
Right.
you know, but he was calling her out and saying
Right.
that he thinks it should be moved up. The timeline should be faster. They should help people more than what they're doing.
Right.
When they go to appraisals and that kinds of things for certain considerations, he says that the people should be benefited by like giving them like 10% more than what they were originally appraised at or evaluated at, or et cetera, et cetera. That there should be this built-in like 10% bonus to the figures, which I thought was interesting. I don't know what. I mean, he's more of a real estate guy, you know. I'm sure he knows what he's talking about. I didn't pick
Right.
up on the particulars there, but I thought it was an interesting concept that
Right.
he was arguing, you know, pad in an extra 10% for the people. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I hadn't heard that bit. Huh. Well, not only did he visit Los Angeles, he also went to Las Vegas and had a big rally.
Yeah,
Just
that's
the other
right.
day, too.
I watched that and I forgot about it, but
Yeah.
that was something he'd been promising to
Right.
do for the people of Nevada because he was so grateful for them that they turned back and voted for him in this last cycle. You know, so he was
Right.
very grateful to Nevada. So
Yes, I thought that was pretty cool. Quite the way to kind of cap off his busy week. I mean, because I think, and he's done other things. He appeared by video for the Davos thing.
yeah, for the World
Yeah.
Economic Forum because he couldn't be there. But
Right.
yeah, he took a lot of questions from the press.
Right,
There.
yeah.
That's something he's been doing. I didn't think to note that, but I have a whole extra list already prepared of what do I say? References, I guess, or links for all the press that he's been talking to. He's been taking questions from press over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's taken more questions in his first couple of days than Joe Biden did his whole entire term.
Well, part of me almost wants to say I think he's doing it to spite Biden and to show, you know, that a president can sit there or should be able to
Right.
sit there and take questions in real time. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say that because Trump loves
Sure.
a camera.
Oh, yeah.
He can't walk past a camera and not say something to it.
Yeah. Right. That's true.
It's one of the things I find very endearing about him, but you know, I do think I hope I'm not overanalyzing too much, but I think this time around there is an element to it that he almost wants to like show up Biden though, because he
Well,
was
probably not only him, but like the media that tried to take him down in parts.
yeah. Well, I do have things to say about the media, but I want to get there
Sure. Okay.
because in this I want to continue. You know, one of the other things is I have got a list, and now he's got an even bigger one. But he's been signing all these executive orders, and I just sort of have sort of a buckshot list here of some different things. But I mean, I think there's been over 100 signed. I don't have an exact figure, but I'm sure you can find it on the White House's website or something like that. But I know there's a whole host of executive orders that have been signed. And so I heard somebody in the media, I don't have these figures either, so I probably shouldn't mention it, but I can just tell you if you're interested, Fox News did a segment about how many well, I think it was Fox News, but somebody did a segment about how many executive orders all the presidents have signed, at least in recent history, on day one. And Trump's done the most, so I can tell you that. And I think he probably did the most on day two and did the most on day three. So I'm not too positive. I don't have the figures, but he's been very busy. And some of them, you know, you've probably heard of yourself, but, you know, he signed executive orders to shore up the southern border, to reform our refugee program, to enshrine our citizenship and protect it. I think it was even titled something like that, Protecting American Citizenship. You know, he's attacking this birthright thing and
Right.
et cetera. He has signed executive orders on energy. One about unlocking Alaska's potential, not only just for oil, but rare minerals and all that kinds of stuff that they have up there. Things on the environment. You can stop me if you want to say anything about any of these at any point.
I'm good. You can go.
He designated the cartels, the Mexican cartels, as terrorist organizations. Yeah. He restored the federal death penalty. He signed some kind of action that is going to hold government officials responsible for election interference, which I think is kind of foreshadowing of things to come. I mean, why enact this if it's not going to be used to enforce something later down the road? You know what I'm saying? So I think that one's interesting. He is reevaluating how our world economic aid is paid, how much and to whom, and that kind of thing. I think I saw a headline today that Marco Rubio or somebody, there's now a hold on all funds because of what I've just said. It's going to be reevaluated. How much we pay people, to whom, how often, etc. So for right now, there's like a hold on shelling out money to other people. Let's see, what else? He's reformed the government's hiring practices, essentially stripping away affirmative action.
Oh, so yeah, that was a big one. And the DEI
Yes,
stuff.
That's the next one. He's ending government DEI programs, positions, etc. He is restoring certain historical names. Like, for instance, Mount McKinley. I guess they had changed that to something. I can't think of what it is right now. I don't know, some other name. I can't think of what it is. Yukon or something. I don't know what they call it.
Oh, was it Denali?
Denali, something like that, yeah. So it's being changed back to Mount McKinley, and I just figured there's probably other things. I remember from a couple years back that they were renaming all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Airports or bases, air bases, and things of that nature. So some of these names are going to be put back to their historical names. He did one to create the Department of Government Efficiency. He signed one to withdraw us from the World Health Organization, which was very controversial. He's
the Paris Climate Accord. He got us out of that.
Yeah, back out. He has rescinded certain harmful executive orders that were written by former presidents, chiefly Biden. And then the last sort of big one that I have on here, I think, unless I've missed something, but he also signed an executive order to release the JFK and MLK files, about their assassinations and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's one that's been hitting the news. Now, I don't think it's going to have teeth for, I think I heard somebody say like a 20-day period or something, where they're going to go through the documents, prepare them to be put out and that kind of thing, probably redacted certain parts, but it will be interesting. The executive order has been signed, so at some point soon we will get to see these files that have been so discussed.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't foresee too much coming of it. Like, from my understanding, there's a whole bunch of, like, a huge percentage of the files are already out there, and there's probably not much more to learn. But we'll see.
Well, and there's a lot of speculation that it's all going to be redacted anyway.
Yeah.
So even though maybe greater portions are available in form, there still is going to be a lot of substance missing. But that's just speculation.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see the files when they get dumped.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing I just heard or read about recently, as we're recording, is a lot of people in the military who were dismissed that didn't get the COVID shot have been reinstated.
Yes.
So that's a pretty cool thing.
Well, that is a cool thing.
Yeah, shouldn't have happened in the first place.
He's also issued tons of pardons.
Oh, yeah,
He's been very active on that front, getting a lot of people out from behind bars.
Yep.
Not to mention the J6ers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to dwell on them, but they're the lion's share of the pardons.
Right, yeah.
But there have been others as well. You know, he's been pretty active on that front.
Right. Yes, he's definitely been quite the busy man. I mean, it makes me kind of excited to see what's he going to be doing next.
Well, I'll tell you the cool one that I woke up to see today is apparently, I didn't know this story, but they had like 2 planefuls of Colombian illegals that they were trying to send back to Colombia, and Colombia was refusing to take them. So Trump went to Truth Social and said what he was going to do. He said they were immediately putting emergency sanctions on Colombia, 25%, that if they didn't do X, Y, and Z, that they were going to immediately go up to 50% in like a week or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah. Well, supposedly in like something like 10 minutes. Can you guess what happened?
Yeah, I've already heard this. The Colombian government turned around. They decided they weren't going to. What am I looking for? They caved.
Well, the big punchline is the president of Colombia offered the presidential plane.
Oh yes, that too. I did hear that. Yeah, it's
not only
crazy.
Are we going to take the illegals back, I'll send my plane.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
And then there's people who say that these tariffs are a bad thing. Come on. This guy.
Right. Now he doesn't even have to implement the tariffs because Colombia complied.
It's the coolest story in the world. And Trump's awfully proud of it, too. He even went and had AI generate an image of him looking like a gangster.
Oh, my.
And it's got the acronym FAFO.
Oh.
And he's looking like a thug, standing on a street corner near a telephone pole. And on the telephone pole is a sign hanging that says FAFO. You know what that means?
Yeah, I know what it means.
Yeah. Well, for the listeners, it's like
F around and find out.
Yeah. Oh. F around. So he was proud. And
right.
How could you not be?
Right.
I mean, with it in an approximate 10-minute period, the president of Colombia himself is saying, use my jet.
Well, and it's just like a perfect example of how Donald Trump's negotiating tactics can work.
Absolutely.
I mean, despite what you might think about him, you know, sometimes it seems like blustering or whatever. I mean, it works. It
ain't going to be bluster when those tariffs take effect.
Right. And, I mean, a thing I've recently was reminded about the whole tariff issue is that most people shouldn't really be worried about it because he did it before in his first term, used tariffs, and the economy was great until COVID, of course. So, I mean, I don't see what most people's big concern over them are.
Well, no, especially when you can see, you know, by this great example that it's really just a bargaining tool. It's not even so much the money; it's the effects.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Despite all of this great stuff and how busy this guy's been, all over the place, zooming in to Davos when he can't make it in person. I mean, just kicking butt and taking names. Well, the media is still preposterous.
Yeah.
Just absolutely preposterous. And there's this latest interview with J.D. Vance.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen this one?
I've not seen the interview, but I have seen the headline about the interview, yeah.
Well, I saw clips, and I think the clips will be in the show notes, but she's sitting there pressing J.D. Vance. Now, mind you, this is like 5-6 days into the administration.
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying, well, how come grocery prices haven't come down? And she's saying, but when are people actually going to be able to feel and touch the lower prices?
Uh-huh.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I just think they're sick. They are sick people. How in 6 days are he supposed to make grocery prices fall?
Right. Yeah, I saw stuff like that too. They were getting upset that, or trying to grill JD and the administration over how come grocery prices haven't been lowered immediately, since that was what Trump has claimed on the trail, which if anybody actually thought he was going to lower grocery prices and stuff like that immediately, took him too seriously. I mean, obviously he's not going to be able to do it immediately. It takes time. But yeah, it is kind of silly that they haven't given up, the media.
To me, I just think it's crazy. The only thing, and I don't even mean to take it here, but the only thing that my brain currently can compare it to is like the persecution of Jesus Christ. I mean, you had a guy going around healing the sick and raising people from the dead. And the people of the church at the time, the Jewish church, said, yeah, but he calls himself the Son of God. We can't have that.
Right.
I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It's like Trump cannot do good enough. You can't do good enough, You're just,
Right.
You're going to look at him and say, yeah, but you haven't cured cancer yet. What? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's just
exactly.
crazy stuff. So I couldn't believe that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's the type of thing where I really just think people need to be fired. I mean, how come Trump can't do that? Call up CNN and say, hey, these same idiots that keep showing up every day, they're fired.
Right. Well, they're trying to. What's his face? Jim Acosta. They want to move him to midnight, and supposedly he might just quit instead of going to midnight. Because
I would be
he doesn't
like,
get ratings.
I don't see why he can't do the same thing that he does with the cartels and the Colombians and whatever. I would be like, you guys are going to be, I'm calling the IRS right now. You guys are going to be harassed every quarter on every filing, every document. You're going to pay every penny. You're going to be hit with every fine that's legally available until these idiots are off your network for good. I don't see why he couldn't do that.
I mean, I suppose it sounds nice to get them to be quiet, but I wouldn't.
It's
I
not
wouldn't go
about
for
them
that.
being quiet. See, that's not my
Well,
point.
they're not going to learn anything. That's what I mean.
Well, it's not even good TV anymore. Something just needs to be done about it. That's my only point is I don't think, I mean, you can argue they have the right and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's fine. But he should be able to, I mean, at least limit who comes into the White House press. I mean, core, I would say no Jim Acosta, send us anybody else, whatever. I mean, these people who are just there to make TV,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, that practice should be ended.
Right. Well, I mean, they're losing money and losing ratings, so they're either going to go out of business or they'll make the proper changes at some point.
Well, I think at a certain point, it is journalistic malpractice. And I don't see why that flag can't be raised or has. I mean, we've been saying it for years. Jim Acosta's a joke. He's never been serious. I mean, I'm sure in his little mind he thinks he's serious, especially on certain issues. But on the whole, the man is unserious. He's as unserious as Adam Schiff.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can definitely get behind there being, whoever's in office can set the people coming into the press corps to some extent.
I'm just saying, and I'll get off my soapbox, but
Yeah.
there's something in me that just wants to call up whoever that was, CNN, MSNBC, whoever, and just say, come on, enough. I know that I'm nobody, but I'm a viewer,
Mm-hmm.
and this stuff is ridiculous. That woman
Right.
had J.D. Vance in there, who's been busy for 6 days,
Mm-hmm.
and says about grocery prices. You guys, I could play back so much of you guys saying, well, the president doesn't even have anything to do with grocery prices and blah, blah, blah. Remember when you guys were defending Biden and you said the one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other?
Right.
Now you want to hold his feet to the fire 6 days in because the price of bacon hasn't declined?
Right.
Give me a break.
Exactly. Before, it was the greedy grocery stores not lowering their prices, but now it's Donald Trump who's not getting the prices lowered.
And I'm just saying, I know you can say the market, the free market and all that, and I get that. But for me, it's in an act. All of this is earnest. It's honest. I want to prevent people from going down there and burning down CNN, and I'm not calling for that. But I'm saying at some point the insanity has to end. People get mad at stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can't just... I mean, please, not for 4 more years, you can't just do this.
Right. Well, speaking of J.D. Vance, one of the things he was busy doing over the weekend was attending the March for Life in Washington, D.C., which happens every year in January, and I always forget it's in January for some reason. Because I'd like to attend one of these years.
Would be good to go.
Yeah.
Great thing.
Right? I mean, had it been the weekend sooner, the weekend just before the inauguration, maybe we could have done both, but,
Yeah.
oh well. But anyway, it was, JD's first, major public appearance since he became the vice president. So I think that was pretty cool.
It was good for him to go and represent.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get to next. It's good to see that the administration is definitely sticking to their support for life. I don't really have too much on it other than I'm glad to see that he was there, and that it seemed to have been a decent turnout for what the weather was like.
Well, hopefully we'll get to go one of these years because I'm sure it would be great content. There's always people that protest it,
Right.
which is unfortunate, but
Right.
makes for good content. People like that kind of thing.
Yeah, one of the things I read about regarding the March for Life, it's always a lot of youth turnout. There's a bunch of high schools and colleges that send groups of students.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, because the youth is the future, and the more of them that start to believe, in the right to life and all that, definitely will help shape the culture's view around it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which is what we need.
Exactly.
To change.
Right. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any other kind of big stories that happened since last week. Not that I can really think of. Pretty much what we talked about. Donald Trump's been a busy man, getting all those executive orders signed, getting some of his nominees confirmed, even though he's not the one confirming them, but it's still part of the administration moving forward, which is what we want to see. I'm definitely excited to see what we got over the next few months and the next couple of years, 4 years.
That's right. He's getting the illegals off the street.
Yeah,
making
that's
us
been a
safe.
big thing that's going on since past week. They definitely came out hard. He kept his promise. They're going to start day one getting some of the criminal illegal immigrants, sending them back home. or at least out of here.
That's right. He's trying to make us safe again.
Right.
Live up to all those promises he made on the campaign. And I think he's doing a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just an amazing job.
Yeah.
And he's really setting the tone for what's to come.
Exactly. And probably by next week's episode, we'll have some more cabinet nominees being confirmed. I know this week as we're recording, I think RFK Jr. is supposed to come up. Tulsi Gabbard's supposed to be coming in for hers. So hopefully we'll see some positive results out of those, and we'll see how busy the administration keeps being.
I wish she would have come up sooner. D&I is pretty important. Get her in.
Right. True. But anyway, listeners, if you have enjoyed this great conservative conversation, be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and many other major platform and podcast apps. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search at Conservative Conversations 92. We would greatly appreciate your support. And if you'd like to hear exclusive and additional content, you can become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle.
That's right. We hope you might share us with a friend or two and encourage them to become paid subscribers so they have access to the same bonus and exclusive content that you have access to. And wherever you're watching this, we hope you might interact with it. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. That's just a great, free, easy way to help us with the algorithm so that we can get out our message to a greater number of people. And as always, we thank you for listening.